everyone, welcome to the Z2Z podcast. Today, I have a very special guest for you. As promised, I always try to bring guests that will help you to be a better business owner and in doing what you need to do, which is taking care of your shop and being your CEO. So today, I have a very special guest. It's Dr. Shweta Oza. She is an executive and leadership coach who helps growth-minded leaders create sustainable success with clarity, energy, and balance. She brings a rare mix of business strategy, leadership psychology, and energy mastery to help entrepreneurs lead without burning out. And that's a very timely question and timely part because today we are going to talk about how to avoid burnout as a business owner. So with that, Dr. Shweta, want to introduce yourself of like how you got into this field, and we'll get started with some of the questions.
Hi, Anne. Wonderful. Like you said, I am executive and leadership coach, and I do help growth-minded leaders create a space of sustainable success without running on coffee and chaos that we usually do.
Absolutely. And what got you, give us a little bit background of prior to being executive leadership, where were you? You have extensive experience. We had a one-on-one, so I just so impressed with the amount of work that you've done. So walk us back a little bit, maybe 10, 20 years before this point in your life.
Didn't start out as a executive and leadership coach, as they say. I started working with entrepreneurs back in the mid 90s. I know I'm dating myself. As I like to tell my students, I'm older than Google, right? But I did start working with entrepreneurs since mid 90s. And 40 was working with family run businesses and solopreneurs. And from there, I moved into teaching and strategic consulting with my MBA. And I loved research, I loved to ask questions. So I went ahead and got my PhD in business with my minors in psychology and strategy and major in marketing. And then I entered US academia and I researched on decision making, clearly from a consumer standpoint, but how do we make decisions, why we make decisions, what impacts our decision making. As I continued consulting with small businesses and women-owned businesses, and especially when I was working in the university, working with corporate professionals, one thing kept coming up over and over again, and that was what to do was not the problem 90% of the time. Okay, maybe 10% of the time, but 90% of the time it was not what to do, it was sometimes people couldn't just get themselves to do it. Okay, and do it in a manner that is sustainable. So that is where I realized that with all of this training plus all of my training in Eastern medicine and aligned somatic work, body work, and all of that space, there was a real way for me to support my clients in a very holistic way. And that's what I bring to this combination of executive leadership coaching. It is to help you do more, yes, which is what we typically do in executive and leadership coaching. That is the focus. Do more, gain more, 10x more, build more. Yes. And this is the biggest part, is to do it in a sustainable manner, not in a chaotic manner. And that's what led me to this place of blending my business background with behavioral science, psychology, and mastery about your energy, understanding that this is the bridge that once leaders start, this is the gap that once leaders start bridging, then the success feels as good as it is on paper.
Wow, so powerful. And I know when I met you and talked to you, I was like, you have to be on our podcast because aspiring entrepreneurs, leaders, and even existing business owners need to hear what you have to share. And I think what makes you so unique is that the energy component, right? Leadership and executive coach, there are many out there, but I think where you're blending the energy and like understanding like the root, the core of what triggers someone to do certain thing and whatnot. To dive deep in, because our goal today is discuss how can business owners prevent burnout? Because oftentimes, as business owners or aspiring entrepreneurs who want to keep their job and want to have a business while transitioning, they wear a lot of hats, do lots of things, and sometimes they burning their fuel to the end. So, what is either can you tell us a time when you work with someone who have that you have helped what I call chaos to clarity in the chaotic life, and then they gain more clarity and just shifting their energy from just running like crazy to being more intentional with their energy, their time, and overall their productivity.
I want to start this with three aspects. Okay. One of the things that I want to first talk about, because it's important that we understand it that way, is what is burnout? Because that is such a cliched word today. Today, my 13-year-old said, people in my class, they say they are so burned out. And I'm like, okay,
What does that
what
mean?
are we talking about here? Because once the word enters our common conversation, we need to start understanding what it means before we go forward. We are not talking about garden variety exhaustion. We are not talking about being tired after a hard day of work. Okay, we are not talking of that. Burnout is this deep exhaustion at all levels, at a cellular level, at a nervous system level, at a mental level, at an emotional level. It is complete feeling that I keep pushing on empty, on coffee, and drawing on it, and I don't have impact. I don't have the result. Okay. And in terms of business ROI, we think there is so much of output, but there is not enough replenishment. We are running on adrenaline and it is depleting us, right? And that is what we mean by burnout. It's not that you are tired, it is that your tiredness is compounded by this feeling of everything I do, I am still not getting it, whatever that it is, right? And this is where we find a challenge. This is where we find the issue of sustainable success. So, your question was, how can we avoid burnout? Is that correct?
Maybe not necessarily, yes, the goal is to avoid burnout, but what are some symptoms of burnout
Okay.
based on the definition just mentioned? And the next thing would be, how do we avoid getting to that stage as business
Okay.
owners?
So, now that
I know it's a loaded question. It may not be but yes.
so now that we talk about what burnout seems, right? Um, how do we get to that place? What are those symptoms of the burnout? And I always say there are look at physical, mental, emotional, and then really your own sense of self and spirit. Let me give you one for each category. Okay. Physical symptom is there is always irritation, agitation, the feeling, this sense of I'm so tired, I have nothing more to give. That's one. When you think about mental symptom, your thought processes, you are in a loop and a spiral loop of nothing I do is enough. I cannot do enough to get whatever I want to get, wherever I want to get at. There is this mismatch happening. It's never there. And that's a thought during review process is different than a continuous spiral loop that we talk about. Okay. The third is emotional space of feeling the impact of what you're doing. And I'll give this to you with an example in a moment. But all the work that you do, remember I said in business terms, it's a ROI problem. You are doing things, there is output, but not the impact and replenishment. There is not enough return. There is output, but not return. So, emotionally, that is the felt sense in the body, in our emotions of, for what am I doing all this? If I cannot even, what am I doing if I cannot even, whatever, right? I cannot even take a day off. I cannot even enjoy it. I cannot even go spend time with my parent, whatever, but it is that space. And from the sense of your spirit space, in Eastern medicine, there is a word, and I'm sure, Ian, you would be familiar with it, and that is verve, that life force, right? You have a lot of verve. You don't feel that. Like you don't feel awake and alive. And it is something that you can, you know it, that you don't feel that. So these are four symptoms in four very different spaces, right? And all of these four, they come from, so what are a couple of things that entrepreneurs, business owners can do to realize they are on this trajectory and then not continue there? And so one of the core aspects and is, and I'm going to just paraphrase it in as simple form as possible, is it is not about hard work. It is not about you putting 12-hour days or 15 hours days. That is not what causes you burnout. That is what causes you fatigue and tiredness. But burnout really happens when there is a misalignment. So, what is the first thing that entrepreneurs, and there are many different ways we can say this, from Eastern medicine perspective, from somatic perspective, from business psychology perspective. And I am taking all of that and just using my own language for this. And that is, when we are moving with all our effort and might and going someplace, okay? And we are going there. But where we are going is not where we really want to be. That's where we get burnout. Now, what does this mean? I want $1 million business. What are you talking? Right? Yes, you want $1 million business. And I'm going to ask you to pause and say, why? Why do you want $1 million business? I hear want $1 million business because then I can travel and I can go to get this for my family and I can do A, B, and C. Okay. Are you able to do that now that you have $1 million business? Or now that you're on your way to get $1 million business, do you see that happening? No, I don't. And so what's happening is instead of your work refueling you, replenishing you, returning to you, it is draining you. And this is the most non academic, regular, vernacular language I am using, right? Which is very simple. When you are misaligned, that is where you start feeling all the things around burnout. Your thought processes start in a loop. Your sense of felt sense goes off. Your body starts talking to you because it doesn't feel good, right? So you had asked me for an example, okay? And I'm coming to that with this setup. I correct.
where we are, every journey is different. And this is something I've learned personally too, is like that comparison game really it damages more than it helps. And I think it's good to be competitive and to challenge yourself to reach that next milestone. But don't look at your neighbor and then feel like, oh, I'm a failure because I didn't get there yet, but I need to. So I need to like 16 hours a day keep going, and what you're saying, like misalign with what I need. So to your point, I think what you're saying is 100% and 1,000% agree.
Right. In, it is so true, yes. But it's not, sometimes it is not even external comparison. It is just the idea of what we have accepted to be true. What we have accepted to be true is what.
The story we tell
Right.
ourselves,
So what
yeah.
have we accepted, right? And we have
Mhm.
accepted if I do not have $1 million, for example, then I'm not successful. Or the other side, we have as a society bought into this expectation, especially when we are talking about business owners or moving through, which is more, and I need to have more. And if I don't have more, then that is not successful. So it really is down to, as we say when we work with strategy, what is your core, right? Where is the core? And in this takes, if this is you, it takes a while to redo the core with the understanding that the focus is not for you to not have, to not hold, to not live comfortably, to not hustle, to not go for it. Go for it. Do whatever you want to do. But how you do it is making a big difference on your psychology, on your well being, on your, and in return on your business, right? I am very prone to tangential work, so I'm going to come back to the example that you
Back
asked
to
me.
the case study. Yes,
You
no,
asked
this is
me.
very
So
helpful, but
I'm
yes.
going to back myself to remember it because I remembered it. But the one
Mhm.
of the beautiful example I have is here, right? I know somebody, okay, and this person has multiple businesses, multiple streams of income, two businesses where they are very present. Okay. Um,
Mm.
makes easily 1 million every year, easy money. They have been working and they ended up having a life situation which requires for them to put a lot of time into it. Okay. It's not about them, but it required them. And I am speaking this way because I want to make sure that I do not divulge any information otherwise. Now, what happened to
Absolutely.
them is between the travel that they needed to do for this work life, for this life situation, and the amount of stuff they were doing to take care of that situation that was just plopped into their life. It was not about them, but it was something they needed to take care of, led to a good period of 3 to 6 months where it was that I'm completely burned out, right? Because, and it ended up being a space of real deep alignment and understanding what is it that I really want in this phase now that this is where I am. Yeah. And it ended up, well, I do want to keep up with one business that is all about the community that I'm supporting. I do want to keep up with one business, but only with select clients. And I want to be able to create a schedule and a financial flow that allows me to take care of this situation that has been plopped into my life. Okay. Success has a
Mhm.
different definition today than it had 6 months ago. Okay. What do we need to be able to do that? Okay. What do we need to prune so you can do that? What do we need so you can have your time so you can do that? And they made those changes. Once they were clear, they made those changes, right? And immediately a lot of things shifted in their lives. So they moved from chaos to clarity. So when I specifically work with individuals, with leaders, it is not about write three things or wake up and do breath. Yes, those to do matter. But really, we start creating a space and figuring out where does this overwhelm, where does this exhaustion, where does this burnout come from? What is we take in the intakes and the process is to understand what is it that you really want and where is the alignment and where is the misalignment and how we can work through that. And amazing ways, once you have that clarity, you can do. Like I said in the beginning, I realized 90% of the time the problem is not what to do, it is how you go about doing it. And the difference is to have the clarity, the courage, and the space to listen to that clarity that comes to you while you build courage. And at those times, we do appreciate a container in which we can do this because we are rebuilding something deep within us.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that definitely will resonate. And like the framework that you just provided, right? It's just talking about what is in the end, like what is your purpose? What is your intentions? And are they alignment with what you want in personal and what you're doing professionally? And now fixing that alignment, right? And it sounds simple, but that is the framework. Plus, there's probably additional things that you wanted to share. So let's say, for example, and thank you so much for sharing that case study. So for someone who's listening, who's going through this chaos or just feeling the things that we've talked about, what are something they can do now? Like three things that they can do now to help them level set and finding more clarity.
Like I said, simple things, okay? If this is you, and before I say, I have one very interesting bit of information to share, okay?
Mm-hmm.
There is research that is going on right now, and it is still working research. And this research is actually showing that when it comes to interventions around wellness, mental wellness, life wellness, business wellness, because what we are really talking is about entrepreneurial wellness leading to greater productivity. Okay. But the focus, when you space the focus as wellness, and if that is anything other than physical wellness, outstanding majority of humans see it as a luxury and not a necessity. And so there is both a hesitancy to spend on it and a judgment on receiving that or the judgment on spending it because I'm spending on a luxury and this is something I should be able to do, set up. So that's one of the, so what can people do right now is here. We know this bias exists. So if take a moment to see where are my own judgments stopping me from opening to receive, accept, and get support and assistance to do something that is good for my business and good for me. That's the first one, especially in case of franchise owners, business owners, solopreneurs. Because as much as I, as a business professor, would like to say you and your business are separate, the reality of life is for these categories, you and your business are so enmeshed in each other that you both are almost the same. So that is like point zero, not 1, 2, 3, but this is the point zero. So check yourself first. Where are your biases and where can you see this? And if this is you, be open to receiving that guidance, that support, that coaching, that mentoring that you need that can help you move the needle for yourself. Now to point 1, 2, and 3. We know that burnout is about misalignment in the big picture of things, and it takes a while to get that. But if you are running from one to the other, to the third, to the fourth, see if you can create a moment of pause between one to the second, to the third, to the fourth. What I mean is, you're going from one client to the other. Before you enter that meeting, take a moment and just take a deep breath, right? Deep breath in your belly and exhale. What you are doing. But when you breathe, your belly needs to come out. Right now, when you took a deep breath, you sucked it in. You didn't let it out. Doesn't work.
Can you show an example? Am I okay? Just go ahead and
So if you put your hands on your belly
okay.
and you take a deep inhale,
Stepping back a little.
your belly needs to come out like a laughing Buddha. Okay? It is not to be sucked in like when you're putting on the tightest corset in the prom dress. Okay? So you take a deep breath in and you exhale completely and feel your belly go all the way to your spine. Takes you a minute, not even a minute, right? Because the first time you do it, you're not going to be able to bring your belly out like this. It's not going to come all the way out because we are not used to taking the deep breath. But do that, just two deep breaths. What that helps you do is creates a momentary reset in your nervous system. It moves you to a I am safe space, because burnout, like, and we don't have enough time on this, but burnout really ends up being going from being in a fight flight response, being moving. When you are in burnout, you're really moving in a survival mode energetically. It's always like somebody's behind me and I don't have. So this breath just helps you be here. Okay. I do this and I don't feel burnout, but I do this. Like, I drive in
It's good that
Houston
we
traffic. It does feel like survival. I drive in Houston traffic for 2 hours before I'm ready to go teach my class. And I park in the parking garage and I actually do this breath for a couple of minutes because it completely resets me from, oh my God, I'm going to be hit by 18 wheeler to, oh no, I'm here and I'm safe. I'm okay. So that's one thing. The second thing, and this is extremely important, and this changes when we have clarity, right? When we move from chaos to clarity, is we stop looking at everything from how much I hustled did I to where did I move the needle today? Okay. Did I do what I want to do today? And it is not, yes, you have to do. Action is important. We cannot do anything without action. But, and when you start looking at your end of the day too, where did I create my effectiveness? What did I move the needle on? It may not be all 100 items, but what did I move my needle on? That's going to happen. Okay.
beautiful.
The third and the most important thing, or all three are important, but because we always, as business owners, we are always thinking of replenishment. What brings back into my business? What can I bring into my work? What can I bring into my business? And here it is. Protect your replenishment like your revenue stream.
That's powerful. Can you say that one more time?
Protect your replenishment like your revenue stream. If I need to sleep, and then you need to sleep, there is nothing around it. Okay. If it is, I feel fueled by my body moving a bit, that is what it is. My emotional well being really rests on being able to have one group meal with my extended family, then that is it. It's not everything, Because when we are building a business, again, that's the point. We have to have clarity and we have to know what we are aligning with, right? Because when we are building a business, there is a season. We are a stream, we are a spring of water, we are a stream of water, we are a flowing river, and then we are the ocean. Every phase requires something different from us as, and in this case, business owners. So it is very, one of the things that I find a lot of challenge in young business owners is there is an idea of what it should be like as a business owner, thanks to social media, which is I own a business and I can do all these things without putting the time, effort. And when this is not there, there is a lot of burnout, right? Because we said it is about misalignment, because it's not there. So the part is what people having enjoying golf 4 days and still making the business they're making. They have built the business differently. Now they are harvesting it. They are maintaining it and harvesting it. But the planting looked very different for them. Okay. The planting can look very different for you. So once you know what flow you are in, what phase you are in, and you figured out what it is going to look for you, then protect your revenue stream, protect your replenishment.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I think that's everything you can take action right now, in addition to what you just has mentioned.
So we said point zero, make an assessment if you need the support. And if you do, check your biases so that you can get the support you need. Point number one, reset your baseline when moving from one activity to another. The simplest way is your breath. Take a deep belly breath. Point number two, evaluate at the end of the day your effort and your hustle from versus your effectiveness. Where did you move the needle? And this will come more with clarity. And third and final, protect your recharge, your rejuvenation, your replenishment like a revenue stream. Protect it and go for it and do it. And finally, in closing, burnout isn't a badge of honor. It is a feedback from your body to you. When you start listening, you can start leading with clarity, not depletion, chaos, and coffee.
How powerful. Thank you so much. And then usually towards the end of the podcast, I like to throw in a mystery question. So for you, if you were to giving advice to your younger self, because you started what I call corporate life, right? And then now transition to almost like a business or become a business owner, what would you tell your three things you tell your younger self then that you wish you've known earlier?
First of all, I would tell my younger self to have a lot of grace. Grace for, and grace for the people that I work with. Because everybody's younger self, and especially my thought it knew everything. Okay. That's the first thing I would do. The second thing I would tell my younger self is chill, chill. Because everything I'm sharing today are the things that I ended up learning myself and implementing myself through my journey. So that is chill. It will, you, that's the second thing I would tell myself. And the third thing I would tell myself comes actually from a friend that I recently met, and we have been together we've been friends for more than 30 plus years. And he mentioned something as we were all in a group, and he said, we all thought that we needed to run fast because of whatever situations we came from. And it applies here too. But look at us today. We all have arrived. Some ran faster, some ran different, but we all have arrived in the places we wanted to. So what was the point of running that way and hurting ourselves? That's the third thing I would tell my younger self, which is, yeah, you will walk, you will run, you will go, but just do it at your pace. And that's fine.
Yeah. Wow. What a powerful session. I know we're up for time, but so what's the best way for folks to reach out to you? Where should they find you?
The folks would be able to find me on LinkedIn, and they can reach out to me. Best way is on my email, shweta@shwetaoza.com.
Okay, perfect. And then I will also put that into the comment box as well, so you guys can have that on the YouTube channel. And for those listening to Spotify, feel free to pop by in our YouTube channel so you can see all the description, the links that I'll share, so you can connect with Dr. Shweta. So, well, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. And thank you to those who are listening. I hope you have learned a lot from today, and just take one thing. So you can comment one thing that you're going to do today, because I think actions beats everything, beats speed, beats just take action. I think that's the goal right here. Just start, just do it now. And if that means 1 minute deep breathing. With that, until next time, if you hear other people that you want to listen to, please send us an email called letstalkfranchising@gmail.com and send your questions in. We'll definitely have information that we'll share with you. Until next time, thank you so much.